Welcome back, everybody. So, our second speaker for today is the Professor Dennis Ruffner. The Professor Dennis Ruffner is the founder of Women in Quantum, an organization that mentors and provides career advice for the quantum industry. She has held senior leadership roles across the quantum ecosystem, including Chief Business Officer at Atom Computing and position on IonQ, Cambridge Quantum Computing, and IBM Quantum. With a non-traditional background in biological science, Dennis is passionate about expanding access and opportunity for the next generation of quantum leaders. Her title, Building Quantum Careers, Innovation, Ecosystems, and Diverse Voice. Okay, now we are ready. I
Yeah.
already made the presentation for you, Professor
Okay.
Dennis, so the poll is entirely yours.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And you are all on mute. Is this coming up full screen? There it goes. My name is Denise Ruffner. It's nice to meet you all, and thank you for joining. The purpose of my talk today is I want to talk to you almost like a sister and give you a view of my career, as well as show you how it shaped as it moved along, and then also talk to you about some tips for you as you move through school and create a career of your own. Now, I like to have talks that are more of a discussion. So if you want to, I don't know, put in a chat or raise your hand with a question, that's always welcome. So please feel free to do that. All right, so let's get started. There we go. We have the date. So what I'm going to talk to you is my career journey and key turning points in the career and advice for you and opportunities ahead. So these are all things that I wish that someone had sat down with me and told me. A lot of this we all have to learn on our own, but it's good if you have that message in the back of your head or that thought in the back of your head. Oh yeah, and see how that works for you. Now, I had a very non-traditional career. So I started out in biological sciences. I wanted to be a physician and loved biology. I still love biology. While I was an undergraduate, I fell in love with neuroscience, the science of learning. And neuroscience was such an important thing for me that I actually joined the lab that this one professor that motivated me. And I had publications. I had just a tremendous experience as an undergraduate. So when it came for time for me to decide what is my next step, I wanted to do graduate work in neurobiology and molecular biology. So I went and did that and loved the science, again, loved the experience. But I always, let me drink some water. I always had in the back of my mind the question of, and I'm sorry about my phone, let me turn it off. I always wanted to learn about business. So while I loved science, I also wanted to know what's it like to be a business person. And so you can see the pivots I've already made. So I wanted to be a physician, then I wanted to be a neuroscientist, and then I wanted to be a business person. So for me, my career has been about looking at what I'm interested next and modifying as I move along. So after being in graduate school and after deciding I wanted to be in business, Um, I got my first job, and it was at a scientific instrument company, and it was teaching how these machines worked to customers. And it was good because it was a lot of science. So I was teaching biochemistry or protein sequencing. Um, and it was a great way to enter a company and learn what it's like to work in a company. And after that, I migrated to being a sales representative, to being a product manager, to being a sales manager. Then I worked with several venture capital firms on the side to help them as companies started out. And then I actually moved in the venture world to IBM. So I had no idea IBM had a venture world. I didn't know much about IBM except that I had sent my resume there and said, wouldn't it be cool to work there? And through a series of different jobs at IBM, I became a global sales director. So I worked in high performance computing for genomics. So you can see the link up between my science education now and selling computer hardware and software. And then I moved to the quantum team. And I moved to the quantum team very early on. So in 2015, um, I'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. So I talked, as I said, I sent my resume to IBM. I was curious about computing. IBM is a huge company. I learned how large technology organizations operate. And this is really a key. And I want to underscore that for all of you is it's really important for all of us to have experience working for a big company. There's a lot to be learned. It's not always fun. No job is always fun, but it's a great way to learn about a roadmap, how you develop a product, how you handle expenses, corporate policies. It teaches you a tremendous amount. So I tell everyone you have to work at least a year or 2 years for a big company just for that basic education of how businesses operate. Now, I want to share an anecdote with you. And it's a funny story now. Um, but in my career at IBM, I had a sales call where I got to meet with the CEO of a big company, which I was really excited about and nervous, as you'll see. And I met him on the second floor of the company. And then he said, let's go downstairs and go into the lab. Great, let's go downstairs. The way I went downstairs is I fell down the flight of the stairs. And it was totally embarrassing. All my papers that was with me, everything went flying, my computer, and it was quite a mess. And I was horrified. And in that moment, as I was picking up everything and putting it back into my briefcase, I thought, Denise, you can either, I don't know what, blow this whole sales call, or you can just kind of be professional, maybe make a joke about falling down the stairs, but go ahead and have a good meeting. And that's exactly what I did. And so even if you fall downstairs in front of people, you can continue your work and you can move on. And I think it's a really important lesson that not everything is perfect. We all make mistakes. And what's really important is how we recover from them. So let me just go back and say, recovering from mistakes or recovering in the moment is always something very difficult. And it's important that we all kind of have this poise and understand that people are sympathetic. So when I fell down the flight of stairs, they didn't laugh at me. They were like, oh my God, are you okay? Here, let me help you stand up. Here, let's pick up your papers. And meanwhile, I'm mortified, but I went ahead with it. And kind of shed it off and had a great meeting. So something to always think about. What happened is I then applied to IBM, or as I said in the sales call, I was at IBM. And what happened is I was asked to join the Quantum team. And this was something that I'm going to move on. I'm going to not move on. Okay, this is something that quantum computing, like that seems so complicated. It seems so hard. It is complicated. It is hard. And I'm a biologist. I don't know much about physics. Actually, my mother is a physicist, and I never wanted to be a physicist. And but what happened is I said, I'm going to learn something by doing this, and I want to learn more. And so I took a job in a field that I really didn't know much about. And IBM was incredible because it helped me learn an entirely new science. It helped me with assignments, like I taught 350 people how to speak about quantum computing in an accurate, fair way. I had a lot of experiences, and I think I'll mention this later on in the presentation. But whenever they came to me and said, "Can you do this?" I said yes. And I think that was really important in terms of me getting diverse experiences in the quantum computing ecosystem. And what those diverse experiences ultimately led to was me getting leadership roles in quantum computing startups. And the pride of helping move quantum computing from a research project. So this very small computer that IBM started out with 5 qubits, we know it's a lot bigger now. And there's a certain pride of being part of this new emerging industry and helping move quantum from research to working with customers and trying to develop applications for those individual customers. So it's a great industry because there's so much growth for each of us in it. So after a number of years at IBM Quantum, I was managing the startup program. So I got to know a lot of quantum startups very well. And one of them in particular wanted to hire me. And I resisted because I liked IBM. And then I realized that I also like learning new things. And I wanted to learn more about being in a startup. So I had these skills that I had learned at IBM, and I felt confident of what I had learned. But I also wanted to go somewhere else and learn something new. So this move was very uncertain, like walk away from this job I've had for a number of years. How's it going to be like at this new company? Um, and I did it, and I loved it because I had more creativity. At a smaller company, your job is less, I call it in a box. So at a big company, your job is very defined. In a smaller company, what happens is there aren't that many people. So something will come along and you have the opportunity to do it if you want. And you also have the opportunity to be very creative. How do you solve this problem? What do you think you're going to do? And you have the opportunity to test it. And all of a sudden, I see all these questions. So I'm going to pause and let me just see what the questions are. I can't see any. So if any of you are asking questions, I'm really sorry. I can't see it. So creatively solving problems.
Hi, Denise. So sorry for interrupting you.
Sure.
Yeah, we had a couple of questions from the public.
Sure, let's hear
Is it
them.
okay for you? I can read it.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one is for Alarcón, you are working across several major organizations in the quantum industry, including IBM Quantum, Cambridge Quantum, IonQ. And from your perspective, how has the quantum ecosystem evolved over the past decade?
Wow, that's a great question. When quantum computing started, or the commercial quantum computing, because quantum computing has been around for quite a number of years, the companies were small. They were mostly men. And there weren't a lot of customers. A lot of times you had to go to the customer and explain, this is what quantum computing is. And we still have to do that today, but less so. And now over the years, we now have probably 250 companies that are working in various aspects of quantum computing, whether it's error correction or whether it's hardware, whether it's application software. So all of a sudden, quantum computing has become an industry. So from these days where IBM put it on the cloud and didn't think very many people would be interested, to now a whole industry, it's an amazing evolution. Now, along the way, as you know, Cambridge Quantum has merged with Honeywell Computing, Quantum Computing, and they are trying to go public. IonQ is now a public company and doing some tremendous things. And Atom Computing has a relationship with Microsoft and is doing very interesting work in neutral atom computing. So we're seeing the different modalities of quantum computing starting to emerge, as well as we're seeing more companies, as well as we're seeing more diversity in those companies. So it's been quite an evolution. And what excites me is to see where it's going to go next. Any other questions?
Yes, we had other questions.
Sure.
Many people entering the field wonder where the real opportunities are. Which areas on the quantum ecosystem do you believe will receive the most ground in the next few years?
Another good question. Right now, there is a huge emphasis on hardware companies. And we've seen quite a few of the hardware companies go public, which means they get an infusion of cash to really grow. And so I think hardware companies are very good to work at. Now, that's not to say that there's not some really interesting software companies and different companies like doing interconnects between quantum computers. So what I would say to you is what interests you most? And don't think of, oh, I like cryptography and it's not quantum hardware. That's fine. Go where it interests you and you're going to learn a lot from it. And then you can decide where you want to go next. Any more questions?
We had another question. Your
Sure.
career path is particularly interesting because you come from a background in biological science. How you did that journey lead you into the quantum industry?
Say that again. How did
that journey lead to you into the quantum industry?
So this is what's interesting about working for a big company is there's a lot of different opportunities at a big company. So I started out at IBM doing venture capital investing in the life sciences and ended up in quantum computing. And really, the reason why it came about is because I was open to changes in my job. And I took each opportunity on, and it made me a better person and a more attractive person to hire. And that's what propelled me along into quantum. And also understand that I was terrified because I didn't know physics and they were offering me a job that was very physics based. but I took it anyways because I'm always looking at what can I learn. And I realized this was something brand new to learn. And so it was something I very much wanted to do is to challenge myself.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise. We have
Okay,
another questions. For a
sure.
student or professional who want to transition in the quantum field for other disciplines, what skills or experience should they focus on developing?
Good one. Let me go to the slide and I can always come back to this. Um, so the skills that I think you need to develop or work on, first of all, I value curiosity above everything, which is why is this? I'm going to look this up tonight after work, or I'm going to go find someone that will explain it to me. So be curious and try to understand things and understand that none of us know everything. And so it's not a sign of weakness for you to go to someone, a big scientist, whoever, and say, explain this to me. Or, say it nicer. Could you explain this to me? So that is a skill that really, I think is really important. The second skill is that of communication. If people can't understand what you're saying and you can't present something in a clear manner, your your influence is not as good as those people that can communicate. So I work very hard on public speaking. There's organizations like Toastmasters. There's different ways to learn how to speak, both in giving a talk, but also in sitting at your desk or wherever you are with your team and communicating an idea. So that's something I think is very important. I think everybody should work on. I work on it. This is a brand new talk, as you can kind of tell. And, I'm always trying to challenge myself and try something different. Now, collaboration is important because we all need to work with people, and everybody's different. And we need to figure out how we can work with different individuals with different personalities. And it's just a very important skill to have. Resilience is another skill that to me means not everybody's going to like me all of the time. And I need to try to be friends with everybody, but I also need to hang in there, have a vision of what I'm doing and where I'm going, and not lose that because somebody said something wrong in a meeting. So I work very hard at knowing what my agenda is and staying on that path and moving along it. And then finally, a work ethic. All of you joining this call, I can tell already have a great work ethic, but the the issue is, I'm sorry, my husband is moving furniture, if you hear that. Work ethic, hard work. There's nothing like working and having an output. And I think that's something that always distinguished me at IBM is I took on a lot of different projects because I wanted to show my interest and I wanted to learn. So these 5 skills, in my mind, are the skills that matter most. And notice I'm not saying be the world's best coder. I'm saying have these traits and these develop these skills and you will be successful. And so often when I talk to undergraduates, I say, lead a team. It might be a volunteer team. It might be um, a study group at school, but practice leadership and practice working with people. None of these skills you get overnight. Practice and think about how you can be better and think about how else you can challenge yourself. Any other questions?
Yes, we have another questions.
Sure.
Quantum technologies are developing rapidly around the world. How important is the international collaboration for the growth of this field?
How important is the natural is collaboration or I'm sorry.
Yeah, I repeat it again. How important is international collaboration for the growth of this field?
I I believe in collaboration. And when you ask that question, I'm thinking back to there was just a recent announcement that one of my favorite companies, Entropica Labs out of Singapore, who develops error correction software, recently signed an agreement with a French hardware company. And so that's a great example of international collaboration. And I think that makes us stronger. There also, though, is a lot of emphasis that many countries want to have their own quantum program. So I think as scientists, we all collaborate and we're publishing papers and we're talking at meetings. And in quantum computing, generally you will see collaboration between companies in different countries. And I think exchange of ideas is always really important within the laws of where you are. So that is kind of the caveat. But yes, I think collaboration and working with others is really important. And I think that's what propels us along.
Thank you, Denise. We had another
Sure.
question. If
Okay.
you can give one piece of advice to students around the world who want to become part of the quantum revolution, what will it be?
Perfect question. Thank you to whoever asked it. Um, so I believe most of you are undergraduates. Is that correct? Uh,
It's not specific. I only say for
okay.
students. Yeah, it looks like it's general.
Okay. So, my advice for students is to explore, use your time in school to find out really what you're interested in. In quantum, you can explore it, and I'll talk about some ways to explore it. Relationships are really important. I believe on another slide, I talk about LinkedIn, which is a great tool in meeting people around the world. You can connect with me. You can connect with um, Dr. Villegas. You can connect all around. And what that means is you start getting a feed of information that's very interesting and you start having relationships. So, one of the ways that when I started out on LinkedIn is I would read a paper by someone and I'd say, wow, this is a great paper. And so I would look the person up on LinkedIn or the people, the co-authors, and I would send them a note. I really enjoyed your paper. I like the point you made. It doesn't have to be too detailed, but I would send them and I would invite them to connect. And people are really nice. I think that's a fundamental thing to understand. And 9 times out of 10, they would connect with me. And I thought that was really amazing. So, I'm connected to Chris Monroe, who's someone I really admire. And, it helps, it gives you confidence that you can be part of this. But it's also good that as you build these relationships, you start to see what people are doing. And it also gives you some connections that when you're looking for a job or when you have a question, that you can just reach out to that person. My third piece of advice is to learn across disciplines. One of the things that I did when I was in college and graduate school is if there was a class I was interested in, I'd take the class. It wasn't always something that had to do with my major, but it was something I was interested in and I wanted to learn more about. I still think you should follow the program of study that's laid out for you. But if there's something that you want to learn about, I think it's important for you to investigate. And one of the things you'll find is that we're all a sum total of our experiences, whether it's a class, whether it's the experience of falling downstairs, whether it's a network that you form. All of us, that's what makes up all of us. And the more kind of diverse experiences you have, the more valuable you really are. And then finally, my other piece of advice is to be comfortable with uncertainty. Nothing is certain. When I took that job at IBM Quantum and I didn't know physics, I was scared, but I knew I could work hard. I knew I could learn. I was confident about going to people for help. And I made it through without, despite my uncertainty. And I think it's important. A lot of us, we have what we call imposter syndrome, where we go, I could never do that, or I don't know this. And that's some internal talk in our head. And I do my best to try to turn that off and just say, what do I need to do? What's the first thing I need to do? And I try to turn my imposter talk into how can I move forward? Because the minute you start moving forward, all of a sudden you feel comfortable and you feel like you're contributing. And so that kind of erases that imposter talk in your head. I think I have one more slide here. So I'm going to do these next two slides and talk to you about that. And then I hope there's more questions. Your career will evolve over time. And understand that each experience adds to the last experience. The skills you develop aren't necessarily just in one industry. You can transfer these skills across industries or across companies. And so we're, again, a sum total of what we've learned. And I think when I look at my career, I started off as a sales rep of scientific instrumentation. And I use those same skills selling computers at IBM because I had these fundamental skills and I learned how to apply it in a different market. And then finally, again, follow your interests. So remember, there's transitions. A career is not linear. A career is about taking advantage of opportunities as they come, as it comes your way, as well as being able to say, I'm no longer interested in this. I want to try that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no negatives. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay too, because you learn something. And then finally, I'm just going to add, because we're speaking about quantum and tools to grow your future and what you need to know. I mentioned networking. The best place to network is on LinkedIn. So pay some attention to LinkedIn. Make a profile for yourself. ChatGPT will help you. And start having a profile and a presence on LinkedIn and start connecting with people. And I'll tell you, LinkedIn can kind of be uncomfortable, like, why would someone connect with me? And I feel that way. And what I do is I set goals for myself and I say, this month I'm going to add 5 new connections or whatever that number is. And I suggest you do the same thing. Again, the more you try it and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be. There's all sorts of resources out there to learn quantum computing. I'm going to go to the bottom of the slide and say there's podcasts, there's videos, there's lectures such as this, there's summer school, there's courses, there's hackathons. Those are all things that you can choose to do, and you can choose to challenge yourself if it's of interest. One of the things is an internship. That is a great way to get experience. Now let's think about it. I may not be able to get a quantum computing internship. Maybe there's nothing around me. But maybe I can intern in a scientific lab and learn the scientific process. Or maybe I can intern with a business company and learn a little bit about business. That's not a negative. It doesn't take you away from being a scientist. It just adds to your skill set. And then finally, something that worked very well for me was as an undergraduate, I worked in actually two research labs. I didn't enjoy the first one, so I moved after a year. And it gave me a real view into science and the scientific process. And I was also lucky enough, I had 10 publications leaving my undergraduate career, which was great. And so working in a research lab, even if it's not quantum, gives you a knowledge of science. Let me just see what the next slide is. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Let me go on to the next slide. But again, feel free to ask questions. So when I look at my career and I decided that there were three kind of pivotal moments in my career. There were many, but for me, the biggest three was joining IBM. I was a neuroscientist. I had to learn compute. Um, that was a big step for me. And I liked it. But it was a surprise. And when I meet people from grad school or people that I knew as an undergraduate, they're like, you work for IBM or you work in quantum computing? Like, Denise, what the hell? So, but I've just always followed my interests. So it was a big deal saying yes to quantum because I felt so out of it because I didn't know the science. And think about you, everyone is intelligent. And if you apply yourself, you can learn it and you can decide to what level you learn it. As a business person, I don't have to be an expert, but the sum total of what I've learned in terms of scientific process, in terms of business, have all made me a success in quantum computing. And then finally, I loved moving out of a big company into startups because startups are so dynamic and it gave me an opportunity to do a lot of different things. Any more questions? Should I keep going?
Yes, we had another question. Innovation
Sure.
in quantum technologies often requires collaboration between academia, startups, and industry. What does a healthy quantum ecosystem looks like to you?
It's really a great question because as I've been involved in the business side of quantum, universities are very important. They're important from a couple of different points of view. They might be an early adopter or adopt your software or hardware, and their feedback is incredible because they're very academic oriented. They'll give you some great, very deep feedback. Oftentimes, you will work with a startup company or another company's startup or corporate that is looking at a different aspect. So they might be looking at applications. They might be looking at um, speeding something up. They might be looking at what a lab has done or what an academic lab has done and see how they can incorporate that learning into their product. And so these relationships are very important to the evolution of any startup, but particularly in quantum because it's cutting edge science. So every resource out there or everybody doing quantum out there is really a great potential resource if I'm a company. And companies embrace these different, um, I don't know, these different places to get help and to improve their product. I hope that answered your question. Another,
We had another question for Sebastian.
sure.
What change would you like to see in academia and industry to make quantum science more inclusive and accessible?
So inclusion, let's go there. I want to talk a little bit about inclusion. So one of the things that happened is when I moved from IBM to a startup, I became the first woman executive in quantum computing. And I had so many people asking me about how did you do that? What should I do next? That I founded a group called Women in Quantum. And it's turned into a global community of 9,000 people. And I like it because I feel like I'm supporting the next generation of quantum and helping them understand the resources available to them. Since then, we've changed this organization a little to diversity in quantum. And now we're helping basically anybody that asks for it. The other thing I'll say is that when I go to scientific meetings, um, now I go and I see a lot of diversity. And this was diversity that I didn't see at the beginning of quantum. So it's actually really gratifying to me to see the diversity. And this is another thing that I would suggest. What organizations are you interested in? Can you help out? What would you like to get from them that they offer? And so that's another thing to think about. And then that is applying skills of collaboration and some of the other skills that I mentioned. So we do see a lot of diversity. Don't let that push you away. And there's a very famous quote by Sundar Pichal, and I'm mispronouncing his name, the CEO of Microsoft, who says diverse opinions are much more valuable and impactful. So always remember me as a woman, uh, you, however you're diverse, um, help make decisions better. When you collaborate with a team of people and all of you have a slightly different point of view, it makes decisions better. So there is a place for all of us at the quantum table.
Wonderful answer. We had another question. This is for Rafael. According to you, what are the main reasons why ABM react to get involved in building quantum processors and quantum computers?
So what are the main resources that someone needs or that companies need?
Yeah, at Tensor he want to try to ask what is the main reason that ABM is trying to push the field, especially in the quantum processor and quantum computer.
So I think what you're asking is, um, uh, help me, what resources you need to grow, to make a quantum computer bigger and better, or how you can be involved in doing that.
He asking directly the main reasons why the company is trying to push forward the quantum computing thing.
Okay, got it, got
Yeah.
it. So quantum computing was postulated in the early 80s by Richard Feynman. And it's an interesting form of compute because we believe that it will solve problems that are different than current technologies today, whether it's classical computing or GPU computing or any form of computing. So quantum has the ability to answer new problems. Now, it wasn't until I have to say this because I know this, 1995, 1994, that Chris Monroe showed the first quantum gate. And that really was the beginning of an industry of how can we build these and what are the applications. What we found out along the way is that the more qubits you have and the higher quality of qubits you have, the better the computer works. And people have come up with all sorts of ways to measure the power of a computer, a quantum computer. But right now it is a combination of number of qubits, the fidelities, and really how good those qubits are, as well as error correction. The reason why we're pushing forward to increase kind of all these three areas is really because in order to make quantum computing useful to a corporation, let's say running an application, I'm going to mention a banking application, fraud detection. So in order for a bank to want to utilize fraud detection on a quantum computer and show improved performance, we need better quantum computers. So there is a bit of a race on to see who can have the most qubits, who has the most qubits that are the best qubits. And so this is really the holy grail, is to design a computer that can run a business application that provides value to a business. And that's why everyone is working so hard at increasing the capabilities of their computer. And this is something we call scaling. And I think you'll notice when you read about different computers, you'll see everybody says, well, mine scales better. And the issue is, yeah, it's good what it does today, but it will be even better when we have many more qubits. Any other questions?
Yes, we had another question. This is for Brandon.
Okay.
You founded Women in Quantum, an organization dedicated to mentoring and supporting professionals in the field. What inspired you to create this initiative?
What is my incentive to do this?
What is your inspiration to create this kind of initiative about funding Women in Quantum?
So my inspiration was really that so many people reached out to me and said, how did you do this? And when they started reaching out to me, I would make time to talk to them. And I realized that I didn't have enough time to talk to each person individually. And I'm the kind of person that's nice, and I want to help people, especially when they have the guts to reach out to me and ask for it. And so I went to a friend and said, how do I handle all these requests? And they said, form a community. And that made a lot of sense to me because we can all learn from each other. I don't have all the answers. And so that was the inspiration to form a community, was to help all these people that wanted help, as well as to bring new people in who might not have had, felt that they were comfortable reaching out to me personally, but joining a group was probably more approachable. The second thing is I always believe in giving back, and it's important to me that I help the next generation of people, of quantum computing people, and that I want them to not be scared of it because it's so complicated or scared of it for any reason. I want them to see that there's great people involved in this industry and they can be part of it.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Sure.
We had another question for Rafael. Why did IBM choosing superconducting instinct than optics adults trapping ions? And do you think they are going to maintain that architecture? Yeah, maybe only to summarize the question, why IBM choose to use superconducting qubits instead to others kind of architectures?
So I think all of you may know, or I don't know, there's 9 different ways to build a quantum computer. So different architectures. superconducting, trapped ions, spin qubits, photonics, neutral atoms. So there's a lot of different ways to build a quantum computer. And it's hard for me to talk about IBM because I was an employee there, but I will say that the lead scientist is a very brilliant physician, Jay Gambetta, and he felt that superconducting was the long-term answer to growing a quantum computer and assembled just a top-notch team to do the work. And they certainly have had great results. But along the way, there's other people that said, I think trapped ion is a better way to build a computer. And so they built trapped ion computers, and other people built neutral atom and, diamond vacancy. So a lot of it is the scientific process where an individual may look at the literature out there and the success of other people and feel that they have their own way to do it and to show enough momentum that they can have, establish a company around it. So I can't answer any specifics, but it is kind of the scientific process. And it's very interesting because I think there may be a day where one type of quantum computer can work on every problem. But there also may be a day where we find out that, for example, superconducting computers are really good for banking because their gate times are so fast. So it's still very much of an unknown which modality is going to succeed or which modalities are going to succeed and how different companies are going to use them for their different applications. Good
Thank you so
question.
much. Thank you so
Sure.
much, Denise, for the answer. For Brandon, in your experience, how powerful can community and mentorship be with someone starting their career in quantum technologies?
It's really, um, I like community because there's people that can help me. There's a lot of people that reach out to me and say, "Oh, I need a job in software. What do you know? Should I choose this company or that company?" And so by being part of a community, you meet different people and you can get advice from them. Now, you don't always have to take their advice, but it's a way that you're not alone in the world, and it's a way you're getting help from people around you. So I'm a big believer in community, whether it's as part of an organization or whether it's part of the LinkedIn network that I've created. So for me, it's a way to test things. I recently had someone reach out to me and say, should I join company A or company B? And we talked about this, the benefits of each company and why they might go one way or the other. And so it always helps to have someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone on LinkedIn or in your community or in, part of an organization that can help you make decisions or can answer questions for you. So I very much like having a group of people around me that can help advise me.
Thank you much, Denise. This is a question for Miranda. Many people around the world are curious about quantum technologies, but feel unsure if they belong in the field. What messages will you share with them?
You ask me again, I'm sorry. Many people
Yeah,
around the world.
yeah, no worry. Many people around the world are curious about quantum technologies, but feel unsure if they belong in the field. What messages will you share with them?
So for me, um, I'm uncertain whether I should be in this field. And I'm very, as you can tell, I'm very self-conscious about my lack of physics skills. But to me, it's about, are you interested in it? And if you're interested in it, I think you owe it to yourself to try it out and see what you think and if it works for you. So I'm a big believer in trying something. Um, there was a famous quote where someone learned enough about something to know that they were interested in it or to know that they were not interested in it. So I like new technologies. I like cutting edge science. I like explaining quantum computing to people. And so that's kept me in the industry and I'm challenged. And so that's that's what I would say. And there's space for everyone. And I'm going to just go to a slide. Um, oh, goodness. So um, you all are the future leaders of quantum computing if you choose to go in that. And it's how you choose to educate yourself and how you choose to um, participate in this industry is really up to you and your interests. And so I just think that there's space for everyone. So they need people that code. We need people that um, can move lasers around. We need people that can do theory. We need people that can do business. We need people that can do partnerships. So there's a lot of different aspects to the industry. And I think one of the mistakes that people make is to think, I can only be in this industry if I have a PhD in physics and quantum physics. And that's not necessarily the case. The case is that A, you're interested in the industry, you've done some homework around the industry, and you want to go try it out. And so I encourage all of you that who are interested to look at it from that point of view, which is I'm interested, I want to try it out, and also that I have my own unique set of skills that I can offer this. And that I know we're running out of time, but I do want to mention one other thing. We've run out of time, but I'm going to mention it. Is oftentimes when you see a job posted and you go, I'm 50% or, this, I don't have enough of these skills to apply for this job. I'm going to tell you to go ahead and apply. Very few people have 100% of the skills. And so realize that a job posting is aspirational. So these are some of the things that we think the person should have. But people hiring don't expect people to have 100% of what they're asking for. And so if something looks interesting for you, apply for it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Any other questions?
Yes, we had another question, Denise. What keeps you inspired and motivated when working in such fast evolving and challenging field like a quantum technology?
I think what keeps me involved is a couple things is first of all, it is a nice group of people. It is really a lovely group of people to work with, whether they're academic, whether they're um, in another startup or a corporation. I really enjoy the people in this industry, and I find that that's really nice. And I think for me, the second thing is I always feel challenged, and it's problem solving for me in business. And I love a challenge. And that is how I choose to live my life is to challenge myself daily. So those are the two things that really keep me in the industry.
Wonderful. And this is another for Yahid. No, sorry, Sinat. If we want to make projects in quantum on our own, what type of projects should we focus on?
I would tell you to focus on um, whatever opportunity you can get in your individual country or in your individual university. Any work that you do is probably going to help move quantum along, whether it's theory or whether it's practical. And so for me, the way to start contributing is to just get involved. So I think all of you can contribute, and I would say get involved.
And we had another question. This is for Yahid. If you could give if you could give your younger self one piece of advice at the beginning of your career, what would it be?
You know, for me, it's that careers are not linear. I always thought that, frankly, I was going to be a scientist and I wanted to go work at a university and I wanted to win the Nobel Prize and I wanted all sorts of things. And so I had this vision of what my career was. I even had a vision of what science I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And what happened is, as I found other things that interested me and I changed, in some ways I felt like a failure because I wasn't following this path that I had set for myself very early on. And it wasn't until I had much more experience in industry and a couple different situations that I realized that not having a linear career, actually, I learned a lot of things and it actually helped me in the long run. So in the moment, I was upset that my career was not always linear, but over time, I realized it was a huge benefit. So I think we all have ideas of where we want to go, and we feel that we just have to go, and it's just, we're always going to get promoted and we're always going to get this and that. Doesn't work like that. And however, you still are building skills. So for me, that is the one um, lesson that I wish I knew when I was younger.
Thank you, Denise. This is the last question for Rafael.
Okay.
Recently, China announced the first open source quantum computing operating system. Is IBM also working and making an open source quantum computing operating system, being IBM a leader in this area? This is a long question, yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to specifically talk about IBM's roadmap and all that because I haven't been there for a long time. And so I know what is public, but IBM does have an open source compute language called Qiskit, and it's very good. It's the leader in the industry. So you will always hear great things about it when you talk to other people that are doing quantum programming.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
It looks like we don't have more questions for the public.
Okay. So I want to tell all of you, enjoy the journey. It's sometimes hard, but I encourage you to look at this new industry because let me see if I say this in the last slide. Um, this is an industry that is going to be around for many years. We're really at the beginning of the industry. And so I encourage you to understand that quantum computing is a career and it's a long-term career. And there's room for you. I think it's going to be very rewarding as it develops and as different milestones are met. So I always tell people I feel like quantum computing is like going to medical school because I think that there's really longevity um, for this as a career choice. And so I encourage you to think about that when you think about going into the quantum computing workforce, that this is really something that's going to be there for a long time.
Denise, Atenso, we are almost on time. You want to continue? I don't know how many slides do you have.
No, I think we're good. And I just want to tell all of you, link with me on LinkedIn. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can or give you advice and understand that there's a whole community out there. Um, for example, Q World that can help you. And I encourage you to take advantage of it. And I want to see people inviting me on LinkedIn. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for participating in our event, Denise. With Cool Bulgaria, QB and Cool World, we really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge and experience with our community. Your contribution really helpful to us to spread many people interested about quantum technologies, and we are very grateful for your support. I hope to see you in future events. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you very
pleasure.
much. Thank you. See you.
Okay. We'll see you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mariana,
everyone. See you.
can you provide more information for the topics for tomorrow?
We are going to continue with Mr. Muhammad Masmoudi. He actually today made a review, and also on the link of Q World, where is the Q Bronze scheduled event. You can see the things that are going to be reviewed tomorrow. And after that, again, we will have guest speakers. There will be a lot of nice women because tomorrow is 8th of March. We will have a different kind of topics, and the guest speakers will speak about quantum education, quantum career development, what is to be a woman in quantum, etc., etc. So we're going to give you information in the Discord channel tomorrow about that. And of course, you have the possibility to get to know them and to have their connections. And yeah, that's all. Thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Bye.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Bye. Thank you very much.